Broncos against the Dallas Cowboys. Just a absolute dominant performance by everybody on the Broncos squad. Um, it's not just gonna be me today. We're gonna be with Ben once again, and we got Normie back in here too. So before we get started, please like, subscribe, share. Support's much appreciated. I'm having a blast doing these. They're lots of fun to do every week. So I mean, without further ado, let's get right into this game. So I mean, coming into this game, we knew Cowboys had a bad defense. Talked about last podcast, but yeah, their defense isn't very good, but then their offense is absolutely amazing. Um, so I mean, I was expecting it to kind of be a shootout. Wasn't really expecting us to dominate on the defensive end like we ended up doing because that was absolutely amazing to see. Everybody did such a good job. So I mean, me and Ben kind of talked about last week, but I don't know about you guys, but my expectations coming into this game were that we would probably come out and win, but it would be a shootout.
Yeah, I had similar expectations. I mean, I didn't think we'd score 44 or even like have such a good defensive performance. I mean, I thought it would be closer to us holding them than us scoring with them. Like I thought if we held them to below 25, we'd win. I didn't expect 44 from us though, and held their starters to 17. So welcome surprise.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I also thought it would be a shootout, and I don't know. Yeah, we thought it would be like 30-point scoring from both offenses, and after that first interception, I was kind of like already in the mode of like, all right, it's gonna be one of those games. But I mean, the defense, even without Sertan, the entire second half, um, came and played one of their probably best games of the season. We talked about forcing turnovers, and Prescott's one of those guys that averages less than one turnover a game. So yeah, defense did its part, offense did its part. It's kind of what we've been like hoping for all season long.
Yeah, I mean, like you both said, defense did amazing today. Like you said, Ben, this game has really been something we've been looking forward to, especially me and you kind of. We've talked about this defense not really forcing turnovers. And they went out there and they had two huge interceptions, like you said, on Dak Prescott, who doesn't turn it over all that often. Uh, Jade Barron, he had his first career INT, and then Dondre Tillman, he had an electric INT too, and had a nice little run back in there too. So, um, yeah, those were kind of our expectations going into this game. Don't want to touch on that too much because we talked about that last pod. So, uh, really, let's just get right into the game then. Ben, you kind of mentioned it. That interception on the first drive by Bo was like one of the worst throws I've ever seen from a professional football player. It was just nowhere near Pat Bryant. Um, on replays, it kind of looks like Bo tried to no look it. Um, I don't really know what he was doing there. We don't have to talk about this for too long, but I mean, what were your guys' thoughts on that INT?
Yeah, no, that was just a weird play. I remember I was sitting there watching it and it happened, and I was like, surely it was a miscommunication. And that's what I thought pretty much the rest of the day. And then, yeah, this morning, watched the all 22, saw clips on Twitter, and yeah, it does kind of look like even on like on an RPO, I don't understand the thought process behind trying to no look it. Um, so I don't know. It was a weird throw, weird play all around.
Yeah, I mean, just take the free yards. I don't know why he's trying to Aura farm on a RPO, but it felt like if that throw kind of like just ruined the vibes, I feel like, for the rest of that half. Like, even though we were up 27 to 10, I felt like it was like it just felt like we were playing a lot worse than we actually were after that moment because that moment happened.
Yeah, I mean, Bo, if he didn't throw that, he would have had close to a perfect game. He really didn't miss any throws apart from that one. There were some drops by Sutton had one in the end zone, so that was another touchdown off the board. Troy had a couple. Mims had one, which was kind of surprising because he's been really good all year when it comes to um, catching the football and securing it. So I mean, we already touched on it a little bit. Man alive, this defense is absolutely absurd. Like Ben said before, Sertan basically missed over over half the game. He got hurt on a play where he broke up a pass to Pickens in the end zone. That was something with his ankle, but then he came back from that, and now he has something going on with his pec slash shoulder area. So I mean, hopefully he's good with that. We kind of don't absolutely need him next week, but it obviously having a defensive player of the year on your team is very essential. So hopefully he's all good. But I mean, this defense really stepped up. The pass rush was good as always. Bonita was kind of silent again. Hasn't really done much since he started talking on Twitter. But Jonathan Cooper, he's looked absolutely outstanding lately. The secondary looked really good. Ufunga keeps doing really good. Zach Allen, of course, is just a absolute beast. He gets to the quarterback, it seems like every play. JFM is getting to the quarterback. DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, they both had some nice games. I mean, it was just a great game by everybody all around. Jonah Ellis, Dondre Tillman. We just have, in my opinion, we have the best defense in the league by far. And we also have the most depth on defense because, again, Sertan got hurt. We were without Greenlaw again. And we've still been one of the best defenses in the league, and we absolutely stood up up to this point, what's been the best offense in the league.
Yeah, 100%. And going back to the defense again, I feel like every time I name somebody to try and give them credit, it's like there's like 7 or 8 other guys I could do the same thing for, probably even more than that. And you mentioned Jonah Ellis. He's been hurt last like what 2, 3 weeks. And he came back in after Sertan went down, and like the next drive, he got a QB pressure that led to Barron's interception. So I mean, we've got guys all around that'll just make plays nonstop. And it's good when we have a guy like Benito who may not have the best game of his career one time, but Hufanga, you touched on it. I feel like he's the vocal leader back there in the secondary as well with Sertan and whatnot. And we saw like in Buffalo in the playoff game last year where like Matt Collins would step over Sertan and then the defense would just watch it. And we saw early in this game how Hufunga will like disrupt plays and like, talk a little bit to the defense, get in their heads. And, we see that also with Greenlaw. So I feel like the whole like mantra of the defense has kind of shifted from, just play well to play well and like, get in their heads, make them feel like they can't get any, positive momentum. So yeah, this defense is just, we talked about it in the first pod. It's playing like the best defense in the league.
Yeah, to touch on that point about talking to the offense, I think last week when they did the 2015 team reunion, they asked the 2015 players who was the biggest trash talker, and it was everyone answered Aqib Talib or Chris Harris. It was the guys on the defense. So I think when you have that type of defense that is just going to constantly chirp at the offense and back it up, I mean, you just can't ask for much more than that. Also, shout out Alex Singleton. He forced that fumble. We're not going to let that be forgotten, even though the ref screwed us on that play.
Yeah, he had a great game. Absolutely great game.
Yeah, Singleton, he did have a solid game for sure. Um, but yeah, just to touch more just on the defense as a whole. Like you said, Ben, last year we were kind of missing that enforcer on defense. That guy that makes the defense like I don't want to say like well no he makes the defense like scary basically. And we got two of those guys in this offseason from the Niners. Hufunga, like we said, he's just a beast out there. He's delivering hard hits to anyone and everyone. And he's always around the ball. He's forcing fumbles. I think he already has two last year. That happened like in 2 weeks. And then Greenlaw, I mean, in the little bit we saw of him, he's just an absolute beast out there too. And um, like you said about them kind of chirping, that's something this defense has needed for sure. Because we were a good defense, but when we would get pushed around last year, we would not come back from it. Um, like we've said in the Bills game, in the Ravens game, once the offenses got going against us, we would just let them walk all over us. But I don't think that's possible this year with Hufunga and now Greenlaw. Um, they've really instilled a aggressive culture that's not going to back down even if we give up a touchdown here and there. Because I mean the Cowboys they started out with a pretty solid first drive, and I feel like last year's team kind of would have maybe let that get to their heads, and the Cowboys would have had a good game offensively all the way through because of how they set the tone. But this defense definitely sets the tone for this game. Even if they get punched in the mouth first, they come right back up and they punch you right back. So I mean, this defense has just been so good for this team, and they're the key for this team to really go on and win games in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And we talk a lot about the defense, and this was one of the games, well, rightfully so, by the way, but this was one of those games that we talked about where the offense can really find its rhythm. And JTB, I think you mentioned it last week about how like we need to get the rookies more involved. It'd be cool to see like RJ Harvey go under center. And I really do think Sean Payton listens to your podcast because this entire game was like the epitome of what we were saying last week. For the past four pods, we were talking about penalties are killing the team. We need to create turnovers. We need to have a good game plan to let, Bo drop back and, really sling the ball. And I mean, this game was the perfect opportunity. So we had less penalty yards. We created turnovers on a quarterback who doesn't traditionally turn the ball over. Bo's average depth of target was 11 yards down the field. I don't know if he's been above 11, but it was a great game there. And then the rookies. I mean, that was a big point that we wanted to see more production, especially from like the top three rounds. And Harvey had three touchdowns. Barron had an interception. Pat Bryant had a touchdown. So yeah, it was pretty much everything that we were talking about and hoping for this game.
Yeah, pretty much just the perfect game outside that first drive interception from everyone involved. I think Harvey's run and what ended up being the Harvey's 40-yard touchdown, the first one, was the highest graded play by PFF this year. I think I just saw that tweet. Like it was one of those type of games where nothing could really go wrong. Everything was going right for us.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, like you said, we've been talking about on here, getting the rookies more involved. Pat Bryant has been getting more snaps as the weeks go on, but he still wasn't really getting involved in the pass game. He was mainly out there for his run blocking, which is insanely good still. I had no problems with that whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like Sean might listen to the pod because I talked about RJ getting in the Wildcat, and he ended up doing that. I would still like to see more RJ touches, but I'll definitely take what we saw. Sean gave him room to succeed, and I mean, he absolutely balled out. Like you said, Pat Bryant, he had a touchdown. And he had, I mean, 40 yards to go with that isn't like something that's going to pop out on the stat sheet like it's insane or anything, but I mean, 40 yards for a player who right now is wide receiver four on the team. Um, when it comes to the passing game. He might be getting more snaps than like Mims, but when it comes to who is Bo gonna throw to the most, he's definitely like the fourth guy. So I mean, 40 yards from Pat Bryant is amazing to see such a young player, and he's got so much potential. I mean he's got a great frame. He blocks like I mean he's blocking like vet wide receivers do. Because I mean he said after the game how he told the running backs, when you got the ball and you were running, to run behind me because I got you. And I mean that's just something you don't see out of a rookie wide receiver. They want the ball and they want to make stuff happen with the ball. But Pat Bryant, he knows what it takes to win football games, and in a Sean Payton system, that's amazing to have because um, Sean won't get you involved with the ball all the time, but when Sean likes you, he will get you involved in every aspect possible. So I mean, RJ, Pat, and then like we said, Barron, he had that INT, so it was really nice to see the rookies really like break out today. So I mean, yeah, like I said, it was super nice to see the rookies break out, but they weren't the only ones we saw break out today. We talked about Bo. He threw that INT early, but Bo was virtually perfect after that. Probably probably one of his best games in his young career passing the football because he was dotting up the Dallas defense left and right. He should have had 5 touchdowns, but Court dropped one. Um, but I mean, just an outstanding game from Bo Nix. Him and Troy Franklin continue to look really good together. It's obvious that they got the chemistry there. Court keeps being amazing. It was just a great game all around. Bo finally, I mean, the offense in general finally put a full football game together, and that's what we've been looking for so long. Well, I mean, it's only been like 5 or 6 weeks, but it still feels like such a long time. I mean, it was just so good to see Bo really go out there and dominate a team. Um, and I mean, people are gonna say it was against a bad defense, but they don't use that excuse for any other quarterbacks as much as they do Bo. So it's just amazing to see him go out there and dominate.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up, Pat Bryant's blocking and that quote that he said to the running backs. But yeah, when he was drafted, I feel like he was the, prototype of like what Sean Payton looks for in receivers. Um, he said early on in the draft process, like in order to get the rock, you have to block. And we've talked about the last few weeks about how good his run blocking and pass blocking is. Um, but if you guys want to see like an absolutely great play from him, not even getting the ball, just blocking, on that RJ 40-yard touchdown, he pinned a guy like immediately as soon as the ball got snapped or not because, immediately after the ball got snapped, which led Garrett Bowles to have a great area to pull lefts. And we've seen that multiple times this year. And I'm really glad on that second throw of the game when it was targeted for Bryant and it got picked that Sean didn't just immediately go away from him. He still had 3 more targets that game, 40-yard touchdowns. So, yeah, I'd love to see it from Pat.
I think a lot of credit also has to go to Cortland Sutton and his veteran leadership. I mean, he's been the perfect wide receiver in terms of off the field stuff where he's not a diva, he's not complaining or anything, and I think that's translated to all of our young wide receivers. So you see them putting in 100% effort, even if they're not going to get the ball, even if they have to block, they don't really care. They just want to win.
Yeah, I mean, um, our wide receiver room is extremely underrated in my opinion. We definitely have lots of room to grow. We definitely have stuff we need to work on, but the potential is through the roof for this receiving core. Obviously we know Court, he's gonna go out there, and with Bo now at QB, he's probably gonna give you like about 1,000 yards per year. And you cannot hate that whatsoever. Troy, he's coming into his own. And then Mims, he's always going to be out there. He's always going to be moving around with the rock. But I mean, yeah, Pat Bryant is just he's a very very underrated part of this team. And I can't wait for us to really start utilizing him more. I just can't wait to see him more and more as we go on. Um, so I mean, now this kind of brings me to another point about a receiver really quick is Troy Franklin is really starting to break out this year. He's already surpassed last year's numbers. Um, we came into this season really wanting him to break out and be that WR2, and that's exactly what he's been. He has had some drops here and there, but it hasn't been quite as brutal as last year. And I mean, he's just going out there and absolutely balling out. It's been great to see his progression. Um, so I mean, I don't know about you guys, but we definitely could use another receiver, but I am very confident in this wide receiver room.
Yeah, me too. Last year, weeks 1 through 18, he had the most separation yards of wide receivers in the NFL. And, I was always last year on the train of like, let's try to get Troy Franklin into space. And we saw that on the second drive, the one after the interception. We saw that on the middle of the field, about 15 yards, and then he ran for like an extra 20. So, yeah, he's really, upped his game, and I think them coming from the same college, them both going into year two, like the chemistry's there, and I think they just had to build on it for a little because obviously the NFL is a much different speed than college. But yeah, it's been really nice to see Troy alongside Sutton, and we also like bringing Evan Ingram in, and Harvey out of the backfield. I feel like I'm confident more now than I was going into this season because everything was still kind of in the question mark area.
Yeah, so Normie, do you have any thoughts on this receiver room?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm also more confident in them than I was coming into the year. Troy's breakout obviously helps, but I think Bryant also getting snaps, especially over Mims. I think Mims still does deserve that receiving role, but it's a lot more. I have a lot more confidence in this receiving room if Mims is more of a gadget guy and you have a real wide receiver three in Pat Bryant.
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked about all the positives with this team and this game. The only negative, apart from the interception, was we're still committing too many penalties. I mean, it wasn't as bad as it's been, but Riley Moss was getting DPIs left and right, especially in the second half. We had a few other penalties in there, I want to say, but Riley Moss especially, we really gotta get these penalties worked out because when we play the top teams, these penalties can kill us, and we've seen that against the Colts and the Chargers. Penalties just absolutely killed us, especially the Colts game. We would have won the game if it wasn't for one penalty, and you can argue whatever about whether it was a penalty or not, but I mean it's still just that situation shouldn't have even been that close to of being called a penalty. And that's not just all on the players. The coaching really needs to hammer it into them that we gotta stop committing these penalties. Sean's gotta really just I don't know what he's doing in practices, but he just really needs to work on disciplining this team more because the penalties are gonna hurt us down the road.
Yeah, I agree. And luckily this game, um, two of Riley Moss's DPIs came in the end zone while they were already on the like 1 or 2 yard line, so it didn't inflate the penalty yard numbers, but still 7 penalties is just devastating, especially when one was on third down. So that drive, granted, we did have a big lead, but either way, you don't want to give them free touchdowns. So, I mean, they could have easily only had 20 points if we didn't have that third down DPI. But yeah, so 42 penalty yards brings us under. We're actually not on pace anymore to break the yardage record, but I mean, still 7 penalties. I believe 4 of those were for first downs for Dallas. So yeah, especially in shootouts where, say, Dallas were to be keeping up with our score the entire time, like it would kind of set us back even further. I'd really just want to see a game where we have, like 3 penalties, because you're going to get those occasional false starts or holding calls, but you can't continuously have 7+ penalties a game. So
I mean, I do think some of the penalties were just bad calls. I think, especially like that second DPI on Moss is a bad call. But I'm not too mad at the defensive penalties. I think just the aggressive style of our defense. You're going to have some holding. You're going to have some DPIs. It's some of them are going to go uncalled, and these refs have been really bad to us, I think, all year. So. I'm not too mad at that. The offensive side, I think we did a really good job this week of cleaning up the pre-snap stuff. There wasn't much holding or anything like that. I think it was just the one big one in the red zone when Bo scored that touchdown. Or never mind, I think that was offensive pass interference. But either way, there weren't a lot of penalties this game. So I mean, it's an improvement as long as we get that completely cleaned up by the time our division games come around. I think we'll be fine.
Um, yeah, so I mean, penalties definitely still an issue, but we do have time to get cleaned up. We got a veteran group, so hopefully we can get that cleaned up because, like we said, that'd be something that could really hurt us if we don't fix it. Um, so not to get a little too far fetched here or anything, but um, I know we're still like midway through the season about now, so I guess it's not too far fetched. But um, I don't know about you guys, but this team, in my opinion, can really compete for a Super Bowl. Um, Last year, obviously we made the playoffs. We had a chance. Obviously didn't get out of the first round. We got absolutely dog walked by Buffalo. Um, but I think this team is different than last year. Obviously we're 6-2. We're we're doing everything we need to do to win every game. And I really do not think it's far fetched whatsoever to say that this team is a Super Bowl contender. We have the best defense in the league. Our offense is starting to turn it up. We have a Super Bowl winning coach already. We have some players who have been to a Super Bowl. Um, I mean, it's just if this team can put together the right game plan, go out there and execute it, not commit penalties, I don't think there's a team in the league that can come out and beat us 5 out of 10 times. Um, I really do think that we are a top team in this league when we limit the penalties and when we go out there with the right game plan and when we execute it.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little like off camera or off the pod, but we said how we don't think there's like a clear like number one team, kind of like a KC in recent years or like a Buffalo, Baltimore that could, just wipe the floor. But yeah, we're not like that flashy team that'll go out and have like seven chunk plays a game. We're a team that'll like hold you to 20 points, score 27. And we're averaging more points per game scored than our 2015 run, and we have the same amount of points allowed per game. So it's kind of like that season where our offense is a little shaky at times, but our defense will have it will be able to like keep us in games. So yeah, I think for like all of the AFC playoff contending teams right now, I think we have a great shot at competing with all of them, really.
I kind of had this point written down. I do think we are a Super Bowl contender, and especially like it depends on the seeding in the playoffs. I think if we get a 1 or 2 seed and we have to play at home, I just don't think there's a team that can beat us in Denver right now. But another thing I did notice was that, like going back to last year against AFC playoff teams or just AFC teams in general on the road, our only wins last year were against the Jets and the Raiders. So that is something that still concerns me. And I mean, the rest of the season, we played the Texans this week in Houston. It's going to be a good test to see whether or not this team can win those difficult games in their conference and their division against these playoff caliber teams.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Normie, only two away wins against AFC teams last year. This year already we have our only two losses to AFC teams, and we were on the road at their place. Um, but luckily, the good news for that is we only lost by a last second field goal in both of them, so it's definitely games we were in and definitely games that we could have won. And that's why I really said in order to compete for a Super Bowl, we need to go out there and execute the game plan that we have because the game plan against the Chargers, for the most part, was correct. But Bo couldn't execute on deep passes. He's gotten a little bit better with that week in, week out. he was obviously really good deep last year, but uh, kind of fell off a little bit here this year. But um, yeah, we had the right game plan for the Chargers game, and then the Colts game, second half was a little wobbly on if it was the correct game plan or not. But again, Bo kind of he threw that INT defense, just kept giving up points. So I mean, again, like I said, we can beat anybody if we go out there and execute our game plan. Because I mean, Sean does he will drop the right game plan for the most part. Unless if we run to the Jets again, then we might be screwed. Because Sean just can't game plan against them for some reason. Uh, so I mean, yeah, I really do think this team can be Super Bowl contenders because, like we just said, we just have all the pieces. And like Ben said, really, there's not a standalone team this year in the NFL. There's a lot of parity this year in the NFL. It's really anybody's it's really anybody's league right now because again there's just so much parity. Every team is winning games. Every team it seems like has a good record. Um, and there's not it's not the top echelon teams like we kind of thought that would have the top record. The Bills are up there, but the Ravens they haven't been good. Um, Bengals, they weren't going to be like a top team, but they were going to do better than this, obviously. But Burrow got hurt and everything. And then Chiefs, they got off to that really slow start, but they're turning it up now. Um, I mean, again, there's just not a standalone team in the NFL right now. So I mean, unless if you guys have anything more to talk about from the Cowboys game, I'm perfectly fine getting into the Texans game a little bit.
Yeah, I don't not much about the Cowboys game, but I will add to that real quick and say that because there's not much parity, and it's really anybody's league, it really comes down to coaching. And I would like to say that I trust Sean more than most other coaches, but it really just comes down to how well the game plan is and how disciplined our players are in terms of penalties. And, earlier this week when I was watching Carolina when they played Dallas, because they had a great game plan against Dallas, Dowdle had 200 rushing yards, and Dallas only had 9 drives, so they barely had the ball. And I tweeted out that we had to run the ball if we wanted to win. And, we were nearly 200 rushing yards. We had 180. And even though Dallas did have a little bit more drives, that extra one because of the turnover, um, our defense shut them down. But I loved the game plan, letting Bo rip it and then, just pound the rock.
Yeah, just about the game plan again. I think Sean did a good job opening up the playbook for Bo this week, and Bo paid it off by throwing 4 touchdowns. And I think win or lose, this needs to be the game plan moving forward. You have to let Bo, you can't baby Bo anymore. If he throws picks like he did on the first drive, then so be it. But we need to know if he's the guy that can take us to a Super Bowl. And this type of game plan allows us to see that he probably is.
Yeah, I mean, we've been critical of Sean so far this year, and that's because he has had some brutal games. But um, he definitely he definitely puts the right game plan together in certain games, and when it works, it's just absolutely beautiful to watch. But yeah, like you said, Normie, you gotta let Bo rip it, but kind of like Ben also said, we gotta go out there and run the football, and that balance is kind of something Sean has struggled with. Because sometimes we'll just run the ball way too much, and it won't really do much, and then Bo gets taken out of his rhythm, and then it's just kind of a disaster for the rest of the game. So I mean, or it's vice versa. We pass too much, Bo struggles, then we can't get the run game going. Um, so I mean, it was really good to see Sean did put both together. I really liked what I saw there. He ran it, but he didn't run it too much to get Bo out of his rhythm, and he didn't pass it too much to get the running backs out of their rhythm. Um, so I mean, it was just amazing to see Sean really go out there and execute a great game plan. So I mean, to touch on the Texans game really quick, it's gonna be a defensive battle for sure because Texans They have one of the best defenses in the league. We have, in my opinion, the best defense in the league. Their offense is definitely a step behind ours, I would say, but um, I really see this one being a tough, gritty defensive battle. I think it is one we should 1000% win, but if the defense slips up a couple times, it could very well define this game because our offense can be really good. It wouldn't shock me if we somehow went off against this defense, but I definitely could see the offense really having a bad day. So I mean, in my opinion, this game is really on the defense stepping up and just showing why they are the best defense in the league.
Yeah, I kind of like how the schedule makers gave us this stretch where, we played the Eagles and, we got the confidence where we beat them, but then we went to London, had a rough offensive showing, and I thought like these two games, the Giants and Cowboys would get our offense, like on the right path going into such a big game, which is Houston, because, going up to 7-2 would be, monumental going into the Raiders and Chiefs game. Um, but yeah, so the offense got in rhythm. It looked like yesterday. They lights out besides that one interception. So I'm hoping, I'm pretty optimistic that the offense can build off of that and go into a, Houston environment where their defense is top three in the league right now. But I do think it will be more of like a close game, probably around that like 23-21 score versus 44 points. Um, but yeah, I think it will be pretty close.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it was an ugly like defensive battle. I mean, if there's one team that might have a better defense than us, it is Houston. And going on the road at a 1 p.m. game is always difficult. But I think if as long as our defensive line doesn't give them much time, I mean, that offensive line is atrocious. I think we should have like 6, 7 sacks again. And as long as we do that, there's no way Stroud was going to have time to beat us. I think it should be a win, but I wouldn't be shocked if we did lose because of how good Houston's defense is.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
glad,
mean,
real quick, I'm glad you mentioned like our defense getting, like 6, 7 sacks. Because Stroud is definitely on the team with an offensive lineman where, he's averaging almost 3 sacks a game. I think a big part of this, Houston game is going to be if we can get the run game going, because we saw today, or well, we saw yesterday, Harvey and Dobbins both averaged, it was like 6 or 7 yards per carry. But I mean, that would be huge to, open up the run game or get the run game going to open up the pass game, because a defense like Houston, you really need to be clicking in all phases.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like you guys said, we got to go out there. We gotta, we just gotta really go out there and execute on defense. 6 to 7 sacks would be amazing. Um, I mean, I would love to see again 6 to 7 yard carries from uh the running backs out there. Because I mean, it's something they did last week, and something they can definitely do this week again. So I mean, um, like you guys said, we gotta go out there and we just really gotta execute against this team. And as long as we do, we really can win this game. But with their defense, if we don't go out there and execute, they can really make us pay. So, really quick, just to do score predictions. Um, in my opinion, I think we're gonna win this one 23-13. Broncos win.
I'll do, I think Houston scores 20. Um, Denver, I don't know, maybe 25, 24. Yeah, I'll do 24-20.
I'll go a bit lower. I'll say 19-17 Denver wins on a walk-off field goal.
Yeah, that would be a walk-off field goal would be amazing, especially. Um, I mean, we've had one this year. Wait, did we have one this year? Yeah, we did have one this year against the Giants, obviously. Um, so I mean, again, with the way this team has had walk-off field goals put on us, it would be amazing to go out there and win. But I mean, I would not be shocked if this game finished like 6-7 or something like that. Because I mean, both these defenses are just so good. So unless you guys have any more thoughts, I think we're pretty much done here.
No, I'm good. I got it.
Oh, okay.
It
Sorry,
was a
go ahead.
pleasure being on.
All right, yeah. So
Yeah, thanks for
thank
having
you
us
guys.
on, man. It's been fun.
Of course, it's so much fun doing these. That last 10 minutes or so really got out of hand there, but thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great week, and hopefully we'll be talking after another Broncos W. See you guys later. Have a great